if you don't do it, what if no one does? That's, I think, the scariest thing about just talking about entrepreneurs and the American dream and dreamers like me and you. When you have a crazy idea, as a visionary for a company, like growing your business enough to hire your husband, and holy shit, like this is a little scary. As a visionary, like, we kind of black out and not talk about the things, the risks and all that stuff. There's some naivety that makes us not consider that. The scarier thing to us is not doing it at all. Yeah, we need our teams, and we should be extremely grateful for my team, and I am all the time, but they also need us, because the world doesn't have enough visionaries with crazy ideas, like making wristwatches that people don't need and selling them for thousands of dollars on the internet. If we don't do it, again, somebody else might. What if nobody does?
Hello, Master Delegators. Today, I have a very exciting guest. His name is Robert Thomas Custer, or we can call him RT for short. RT is a serial entrepreneur passionate about building a legacy with his products and services. He is relentless in his pursuit of the American dream and believes everyone should have the freedom to be in the driver's seat of life. And I totally agree with that. RT's story begins on a Christmas tree farm in Pennsylvania. He grew up a fourth-generation entrepreneur and farmer. He believes in nurture over nature because he was influenced to be an entrepreneur by helping his family build a legacy, planting trees on the farm. His core values are respect, integrity, empathy, freedom, and wealth. He ties them into everything he does and shares those values with his companies and teams. His favorite quote is, "Plant trees under whose shade you'll never sit." And he surrounds himself with people doing just that. In 2014, RT started Vortic Watch Company with his business partner, Tyler Wolf. Together, they pursued the idea they had in college at Penn State, a wristwatch completely built in the United States. Their signature product, the American Artisan Series, features antique American pocket watches that have been salvaged, restored, and preserved inside one-of-a-kind wristwatches. They are becoming the next great American watch company by preserving American history one watch at a time. RT is a father of two boys, Sawyer and Wesley, and a devoted partner to wife, Lindsay. They currently reside in northern Colorado and enjoy traveling the world together. I'm so excited to interview RT today and hear his story about how he defeated the world's largest watch company in federal court in a 6-year legal battle that he is currently writing a book about. And I also am curious to know how they have successfully implemented and utilized the 4-day work week for over 7 years. So tune in because I know you're going to be learning a lot from RT. Hello, RT. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Christy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you are a serial entrepreneur and you grew up a fourth-generation entrepreneur. So you were surrounded by, parents, or maybe families or friends, maybe relatives who owned their own business. So how was it like growing up seeing that?
Well, yeah, so my great-grandfather started a Christmas tree farm in Pennsylvania in 1941. And the farm was always kind of the side hustle of the family, pretty much. I'm sure he was full-time at that point, but my grandfather and then my parents basically ran the farm on the side, and then had careers of their own. My grandfather was a forester, just like his dad, and worked for the state of Pennsylvania, where I grew up in forestry, and for the state, and worked on all that kind of stuff. And then nights and weekends he would take care of the farm, and then my parents basically did the same thing. My parents both worked in advertising as their full-time careers. And we took care of the farm, mowed the grass, trimmed the trees, sold the trees that 1 month a year around Christmas, just once a year. And that was always our thing. And that's how I grew up. I just, you know, I think everyone in my family values hard work because it's like long hours and going from one job to another and taking care of a big piece of property and a revenue generating piece of property. It was just a necessity for life at that point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I didn't know any different, I guess, to answer your question. It just was the environment where I grew up, and I'm very grateful for that because I honestly don't know how I'm going to create that same environment for my own kids with how cushy life is today in suburban life.
Yeah, exactly. So, did you grow up inspired to become an entrepreneur? Is that what you wanted, or were you like thinking, "Oh, I want to be a model, I want to be an actor, I want to be working at a restaurant, be a chef," you know?
Yeah, so my parents both worked in advertising, but so and then we had the farm, and so I grew up around entrepreneurs, but we didn't nobody really used the term entrepreneur or even small business owner. It was just our farm. We
All
were
right.
Christmas tree farmers, right? So, um, but like I said, everyone else had a corporate job. So I never really thought about being an entrepreneur until college. Before college, I thought I was going to go into some sort of engineering or architecture. I always loved building things, starting with Legos when I was a little kid, and then, having fun in drafting class and stuff like that. I really enjoyed building things and making things. And so I went to Penn State, which is one of the best engineering schools in the country. And I was in Pennsylvania, so I got in-state tuition. That worked out great. And um, my parents, kind of figured like, okay, I'll be some sort of engineer. And I graduated with an industrial engineering degree, but all through college, I started and worked for lots of different entrepreneurs and did a lot of very entrepreneurial things. My first being a multi-level marketing company called College Works Painting, where I basically started my own painting business when I was a freshman, my freshman summer. And I did really well in that business, and they promoted me to run the next layer up or level up the following year. And I did well in that too. And so I kind of got that entrepreneurial bug from working for that College Works painting company in college. Um, and then sometime in late college, it was I think my senior year, I had the idea with my now business partner Tyler to start Vortic Watch Company. Um, and yeah, that was 12 years ago, and we're still manufacturing wristwatches.
Congratulations. Wow. So, you live in Pennsylvania. You were not that far from Ohio, which I am in right now. So, Ohio and Pennsylvania, they kind of share the same weather, and it's the countryside. Have you met Amish people in Pennsylvania?
Yep. Yeah, I grew up in southeastern Pennsylvania, near Reading, PA. There's a lot of Amish people in that part of Pennsylvania, as I'm sure there's plenty in Ohio. And the one of the reasons that I moved to Colorado after being in Pennsylvania most of my life is because the state of Colorado has, or at least the city that I'm in Fort Collins here, we have 300 or more days of sunshine every year.
Hmm.
It's always sunny outside. I have a big window in every office that I've ever had. It's just so important to me to have sunshine. And I feel like, and I don't know if this is accurate, I feel like Pennsylvania and probably Ohio are the opposite. It's cloudy all the time. And
Especially during these days.
yeah, especially during the winter. And so I'll deal with a little extra snow every now and again to have sunshine all day, every day. And you don't realize how much that affects you until you change, your environment like that. But yeah, once I moved to Colorado after school, I never really looked back for that reason.
Good
And
for you. It was different for me because I grew up in the Philippines. So I moved to the States in 2019. So I was born in 1989. So 1989 to 2019, I was in the Philippines. So
yeah,
for 29 years, 28 years of my life. And now that I'm here in Ohio, the weather's really different, but I had to embrace it because I'm now here permanently. So my husband and I, we've been snowboarding and skiing during winter season. We really had to do something during winter times because if not, it's gonna make me go
yeah,
insane,
yeah,
you
for sure.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel the same way.
especially for us entrepreneurs, right? Like we need to take care not just our physical body, but also our mental health. So one thing I like about, what you do is your core values. And those are respect, integrity, empathy, freedom, and wealth. Tell me about why you chose those five core values and how are you sort of passing that on to your team members?
For sure. So to me, all of those core values, if you and I'm an engineer, I'm a nerd, so I look at math, I put everything in very logical, equations, if that makes any sense. And I look at integrity, empathy, respect, wealth, and freedom. If you do all those things and you operate using those core values, if you basically add all those things together like a mathematical equation, you get legacy. And the word legacy is what I'm after. And that's, I also, you mentioned like the forms that I filled out before this podcast. Like one of the biggest things um, that I talk about a lot of times is this quote that I keep on my desk. And it's the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. And to me, that's legacy. And that's obviously trees. I grew up on a Christmas tree farm. So the idea of planting trees, creating shade, and then creating this environment for other people that you'll never experience yourself, to me, that goes straight back to legacy. And I don't know how you can build a big brand and create a legacy business without having integrity, without operating with empathy for everyone around you, without, number one for me is respect and just having respect for everyone around you and also trying to do everything in a way to be respected. And then wealth and freedom are in there too, because I love having the freedom to be an entrepreneur. I'm a big believer in the American dream. Sounds like you're,
Yes.
participant in the authentic, story of the American dream. I talk about the American dream all the time, and that all goes back to freedom. And then wealth is not just money, like when you're looking at a list of core values and trying to pick like which ones really resonate with you, you're going to see the word money. You're going to see the word like travel and experiences and all kinds of other things that can be purchased with money or money can be created from. To me, wealth is money plus freedom, because you get to decide whatever it is that you do with your money. And for me, it's a pun we use all the time because we manufacture wristwatches. We are making time, and you can't buy back your time, but you can buy freedom and create time by making money. And so, we all that to say, to answer your question, I just try to operate using those core values every single day, do the best I possibly can. I'm not the best at it, we are human.
Right.
But I feel like if I set a good example for my team, my employees, my family, then, karma comes back, good and bad. So I'm just
And
trying
it's
to.
digital now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's it. I think about that stuff all the time. It's why I have that quote on my desk. So I talk about core values all the time. It's like, why are we doing all this? Why are we working so hard? Why are we foregoing sleep and all this stuff to be entrepreneurs and working our butts off,
Yes,
if not for living the life we want to live?
exactly. Yeah. Preach it. And that's what I have been telling people as well. We became entrepreneurs, not just to make money, but to have freedom
Right.
and have peace of mind, right? And flexibility.
Mhm.
But if we are employees of our own business, it's like we're not being business owners or entrepreneurs.
Are you sick and tired of being overwhelmed and afraid you'll never scale your business? Meet Smart VAs. Unlike many virtual assistant agencies that only assign one dedicated virtual assistant, we provide flexibility for growing businesses by assigning a team of experienced virtual assistants that can do different tasks to support your continuous growth. Visit smartvas.online to book a free discovery call and start growing your business.
I like that you mentioned about legacy because I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was on a retreat, and our facilitator, who was a life coach, she told us to write down our dreams, and don't just write small dreams, write down big dreams.
Yep.
That's what she said. And she gave us, like, I think 3 or 4 categories of a person who has a dream. So one of them is, are you a person who has a dream but afraid that it might be too late for you to dream? Are you the type of person who has a lot of dreams but afraid to take risk? So there are like different categories similar to those examples. And then I wasn't able to categorize myself in those categories that she gave. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what if I'm already living a dream? What if I'm already living my dream? Like, I grew up in the Philippines. I'm now here in the States. I had my business for almost 5 years now, and I was able to help a lot of people. Though, I'm still young, and I know I can still do more, and I can dream bigger dreams. But I'm content with where I am at right now, and I'm living my dream already. I was even able to hire my husband full time and join me in the business. Like, who
Yep.
would have thought the Filipina from the Philippines who moved to the States, was able to make an income, like, 6 7 figure income, and was able to hire her husband. While most people, they think that when somebody from a third world country marries somebody from the States or a first world country, they think that, oh, that person just wants money from this person. And so
Yeah.
now that I'm here in the States, I was like, I'm living my dream already. I'm living the American dream, like what you're
Yep.
talking about. That's why I'm so passionate about delegation and, growing a team, because that's what made me become successful. So it's not really me. I feel like I can only take 1% of the credit, but 99% goes to my team. And so I went to the coach and asked her, hey, but I can't categorize myself, and she said, whoa, so that means you're way beyond these categories. You are now starting a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, that is really good. So, because if you're already living your dream and you can now, pass that on to other people, and you're able to impact other people, that is a legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely right. And that's, I mean, congratulations. Like that is the American dream. You are the definition of
Thank you.
the original definition of the American dream that people talk about is, somebody coming from another country and building a life of their own and, now having employees and, making money and paying your taxes and giving back to the country that helped you, create all this
Yeah.
wealth
Mm-hmm.
for yourself like that. That's it right there. And I grew up like the perspective that you just shared, I think is extremely valuable because a lot of people like me grew up, I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur, like we talked about. I don't know how many generations, but let's like 8 or 9 generations have been Americans. So my definition of the American dream for myself is a little different. And I started with a ton of privilege, like I had entrepreneurs around me my entire life. I went to college already with money. I never had to worry about like who's going to pay for my education. I could either I knew myself that if I needed help, I could either go out and earn enough money to pay for my own education, or I could, ask my family to help if I really, got in a bind. Um, and and that is a ton of head start from a lot of people. And so I try to not take that for granted and continuously look around at all these things that I've built since and say, if I started with that kind of head start and I don't do something great with it, then who am I to even say the word entrepreneur and entrepreneurship? And who am I to even share the idea of the American dream? Like if if I don't do it, first of all, somebody else might. But the more scary thing, and back to where you started with the story, is if you don't do it, what if no one does? And that's I think the scariest thing about um, just talking about entrepreneurs and the American dream and dreamers like me and you, it,
Mm-hmm.
like when you have a crazy idea, as a visionary for a company, like growing your business enough to hire your husband, and like, the holy shit, like this is a little scary.
It's wild.
The scariest part of that is not actually doing it. We're both, as a visionary, like we kind of black out and not talk about the things, the risks and all that stuff. Like we don't
Mm.
talk about that stuff. There's some naivety that makes us not consider that. The scarier thing to us is not doing it at all. So
Oh,
uh,
wow. I love that.
that's the thing that keeps me going, is like, you know, yeah, we need our teams and we should be extremely grateful for my team. And I am all the time. But they also need us, because the
Mm-hmm.
world doesn't have enough visionaries with crazy, crazy ideas, like making wristwatches that people don't need and selling them for thousands of dollars on the internet. If we don't do it, again, somebody else might. What if nobody does? Like, this is my dream, and it's so much fun to be, to your point, living that dream every single day. We get to.
Yeah.
We don't have
Mm-hmm.
to. We
Yeah,
get to.
exactly. And it doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that it's all rainbows and butterflies every day living your dream, right?
It doesn't. Yeah.
There's always, stuff that comes up every day.
Mhm.
And that's a good thing about it. Every single day of your life, you deal with challenges and you grow your character. And not only your character, but you also help other people, become part of the solution. So
Yeah.
you've been in the business specifically for the wristwatch business for about 12 years now. What what was that main struggle that you have been experiencing, like the common theme?
Common theme throughout, the biggest problem that I've always had, which I feel again grateful to have this problem, is we can never make enough watches. Like from the start of the company, pretty much everyone I talked to was like, "Why are you starting a watch company? Nobody needs watches anymore. Like, what about Apple? What about Fossil? Like, we got plenty of watches. Nobody even needs watches anymore. And you want to sell them for thousands of dollars? Like, what do you even?" Like, most people thought I was crazy, just like any good visionary or dreamer. Most people think we're crazy. We saw a niche in American watches. So we run one of the only companies that manufactures wristwatches in the USA, and we are taking on the Swiss. Most watches are made in Switzerland or China. I go on the high end, and so I'm competing mostly with Swiss companies, watches made in Switzerland. And the common problem that we've had for the life of the company is that I can always sell more than my business partner can make. And then
Mm,
against him, he's doing a great job. We're making great watches. We just can't make enough. And like I said, it's kind of a good problem. But I mean, you've probably felt this in business, like you're complaining about something to a trusted friend or a mentor or a coach or something
right.
like that. And they're like, "Oh, that's a good problem. I just want to choke them." No, 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 no. You say good problem, but gosh, I'm just knocking at the door of this good problem all the time. How do we make more watches? And so that's, most recently, a couple months ago, we started another brand. So I've run Vortic Watch Company since college. And long story short, we take old pocket watches and turn them into wristwatches. So it's 100-year-old piece of American history inside, amazing one-of-a-kind wristwatches. We sell them for about $3,000 to $10,000 a piece. And like I said, we always sell more than we can make. We've never had an issue with that. Knock on wood.
Mhm.
But now it's like, okay, how do we go bigger? How do we scale? And we've been asking ourselves that for years, and having that same kind of common theme for years. And our new brand is called Colorado Watch Company. And it's all part of the same company. It's all made here in Colorado in the
Mhm.
facility. But Colorado Watch Company is much more scalable. We can make thousands of watches a year instead of just dozens. And we're selling those for somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 on average. And so it's a more entry level, attainable watch, entry level luxury. I certainly never
Right.
affordable because it's still thousands of dollars, but like it's a different product in a different sector of the market. And we're trying to solve that problem. But back to your question, we're still trying to solve the same problem we've been trying to solve for 10 years. And every time somebody says that's a good problem, I get frustrated.
That's not a good problem. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
So
That's
you won't get frustrated.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Wow, that is awesome. Um, yeah, I feel like us visionaries, entrepreneurs, like it's hard to have a good problem when you cannot solve it
Mm,
because we are problem solvers. That's why we're entrepreneurs. We want to solve a problem,
yep,
right? So that's why I can relate to what you said. When somebody says it's a good problem, it's like, no, it's not. I can't even solve it.
yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
for you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so let's talk about how you experience freedom and flexibility in your business. So I know you have implemented and utilized the 4-day work week for over 7 years now. So let's go back to 7 years ago. Like, why did you decide to implement that? And what's the turning point and what's the benefit of that now that you've implemented it?
Totally. So Vortic Watch Company is much less of a watch company and much more of a manufacturing company. Manufacturing companies, since we're making watches from scratch here in Colorado, a lot of manufacturing companies run multiple shifts. They have a day shift, a night shift, or a weekday shift and a weekend shift, mostly because we have millions of dollars in machines and equipment that can be operated without a human, or at least like have one human per 5 or 10 machines. And so the idea initially was, let's do a 4-day work week, Monday through Thursday, 4 10-hour days, so that eventually we can either add a weekend shift and keep those machines on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or maybe both, a weekend shift and a night shift, and keep those machines on 24/7. And we made that shift right around the time we got our first manufacturing machine. They're called CNC, or Charlie Nancy Charlie machines. And long story short, they take a piece of metal and cut it and create parts. So that was the initial concept. People since have talked a lot about the 4-day work week and just how beneficial it is,
Right.
for psychology reasons and recruiting purposes. And we felt that for sure. We still, my business partner sometimes comes in and we've found ways to keep those machines on Friday, Saturday, maybe sometimes Sunday as well. So we haven't really felt the full need to keep those machines on and create a whole nother shift to create those machines on. But we've stuck with the idea of the 4-day work week, mostly because it's one of our best recruiting tools. People come to Colorado so they can live life, not so they can sit inside and work.
So they can ski and snowboard, right?
So it's one of the best. Every time I sit down with a new potential employee, I say, hey, you give me 40 hours Monday through Thursday, and I don't give a shit what you do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can start another business. You can be an entrepreneur like me and run a little side.
Right.
You can go skiing, snowboarding, hiking, mountain biking, whatever you want to do. Go outside on a Friday and get some fresh air and sunshine while all your friends are still at work on their Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And that's been just such a wonderful game changer for us from a recruiting standpoint. Now, it doesn't work for every type of job. I have customer service people that need to be working at Friday. Right. My customers don't get email responses on Fridays. But when you're just building a product, when you're manufacturing something, it's kind of a no-brainer to at least offer that to the employees to see if it's something they want to do.
Exactly. I love that. So I know you have VAs and you have, of course, employees, as we wrap up, what do you think is the key to becoming a master delegator?
Well, it's very hard, and I struggle with this all the time. But I think in order to properly delegate, you have to give up control and let the system run itself. And if you didn't build the system well enough, you have to start again and try again. And the only way to know if you built it well enough is to go teach somebody else how to use your system and see what happens. But delegation isn't, checking in with them even a few times a day. It's, hey, assistant, virtual assistant, employee, here's your project. You have full ownership over this project. Here's how I do it. Here's everything you need to know. Let me know if you have any questions. And then you write it off and you just hope it works. And obviously you support them throughout and you answer those questions when they have them. But I think it comes down to that full release of control and mental stress, and just saying, this is what it is. I built the system works. I've used that system. I need to trust that somebody else can too. And if it fails, it's probably not the employee's fault. It's probably something that you didn't build right the first time, and you got to hit the ground and do it again and try again, and then keep trying until it works. And that's how I do it. Like I said, I'm not perfect. It does stress me out. It's hard to think about like if it's still getting done right. But the only way to find out is to try. So
Yeah, I love that. I'm a total believer of having systems and processes as well. And, when something fails and our team members, failed to do what we wanted them to do, sometimes we can be biased with the result, right? If we're control freaks, we can just say, oh, you failed. See, I should have not delegated a task. I should have just done this myself, right? So we kind of justified our own control freaknish ish. Yeah. This is awesome. Thank you so much, Artie, for sharing your story, your insights, very valuable. And I love that we're able to talk about your core values, what are important to you, because I believe it's important for each person to have principles and also core values. So where can people find you online?
Well, so my watch company and everything to do with Vortic is at vorticwatches.com. That's VORTIC watches.com. And then I'm just RT Custer on Instagram and LinkedIn. It's like Robert Thomas Custer, RT Custer. Find me on Instagram primarily. That's where I hang out. You can DM me, we can chat. But then I'm also on LinkedIn, all those other platforms too. You can start a conversation over there. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to help. Love talking about business. Appreciate you having me, Christy.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.